There's an inherent melancholy to robots who wear our faces, an ephemeral sort of sadness that is hard to articulate. Even the act of putting our likeness upon an artificial being that lacks the emotion and spark of life that we identify as the human soul seems nonsensical. Perhaps subconsciously, we imagine if we encase the wires, circuitry, and cold steel of machines within a caricature of humans by gifting them our flesh or some proxy of it, we can in some ways impart our humanity upon our creation. A foolish venture, but perhaps not an impossible one. Androids in video games are a strong example of us projecting ourselves into the synthetic flesh of our mechanical progeny. The parallel of projecting our self-image onto machines and projecting our will onto an electronic avatar on a screen is not lost on me. Examples of video game androids are endless, a list we could consume hours speaking on. Two of the most striking I've played are the much beloved Nier Automata and the far less known but equally captivating Signalis. Both games are masterpieces, albeit in very different ways. Both focus on the difficult, emotionally resonant, and ultimately devastating stories of androids, our not quite human creations who, by all accounts, should be lifeless and void of all emotion and feeling. Yet we find within these artificial humanesque beings a distilled essence of humanity that we cannot help but answer with our own. Why? What is it about games about sad androids that we inherently connect with? Perhaps these games resonate so strongly because they're so close to reality. The technology of robotics and AI is advancing rapidly in our world. Soon we might not be able to tell the difference between the face of a human born and the face of a human we've engineered. AI is already spreading in many areas of the world, from performing advanced calculations beyond the scope of human ability to creating art that grows ever closer to perfection, generated using only a few keywords and phrases. Savvy kids and teens skip their homework and instead study how to best use AI to do that homework for them. Even the scripts and ideas of your favorite YouTubers and content creators are being generated by AI with growing complexity and sophistication. It's become difficult to tell the difference between the thoughts of man and machine. Perhaps even the script for this very video is the product of AI. How would you know the difference? A machine who passes for human in appearance, thought, and mannerism might be the pinnacle of human engineering, technology, and art. But in many games featuring machine-as-man protagonists, the focus is not upon the technical achievement, nor the sophistication of our circuitry-based children, nor their hyper-advanced intelligence. Rather, we see time after time, games, movies, books, and other media directing its intent on distilling into androids the one thing we are certain they lack: humanity. Nier Automata and Signalis directly question this certainty. There are a wealth of parallels and disparities between Nier and Signalis. Both are what I would unironically consider art using video games as a medium, and both deliver an unflinching emotional gut punch as our android protagonists experience the bleak reality of their almost human existence in their respective cold and uncaring worlds. Both games heavily ruminate upon various forms of existentialism, examine the role of purpose, and whether androids can manifest the elusive spark of what makes humans human. A spark both fiction and reality insist machine and AI life forms fundamentally lack. Nier and Signalis evoke a wealth of emotions in their respective audiences by leveraging the mediums of art, music, and drama. These three mediums are put to great effect in both games to engage player empathy and investment in the proceedings as we become awash in the music sweeping through each playthrough, observe the purposeful and deliberate placement of art and symbols through strategic imagery, and the drama unfolding between our synthetic offspring as they struggle to survive in a world that cares as little for them as it does for us. It's fascinating, sad, and familiar. In their respective ways, Nier and Signalis both explore the way androids, for all their alien nature and lack of humanity, are indisputably us. From Nier's exploration of the androids waging war in the name of the ghost of their human creators that went extinct a millennia ago, to Signalis' exploration of the depth of horror and desolation that an android willingly hurls herself into in the name of keeping a promise, we see ourselves and our stories reflected back to us. 2B, 9S, and A2 are, for all the intensity and volatility of their struggles against the machine race, who are themselves a reflection of both the androids and humanity, are ultimately struggling more with questions of meaning and the purpose of their own existence. This is brought on by the discovery that both the humans they fight on behalf of and the aliens that invaded Earth eons past and unleashed the machine race to contend with the androids have both been long extinct. The discovery reframes the entire game, and indeed the lives of every android and machine in existence. A millennia-long proxy war. For what? To what purpose? And for who? As tragedy after tragedy unfolds throughout the game's events, these questions compound and amplify. Why so much death, so much loss, if it serves no one? These questions are reflections of our own human contemplations of existentialism and the nature of purpose.
Everything that lives is designed to end. We are perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
Clear nods to the greats of philosophy are baked into Nier Automata's DNA, so it should be of no surprise that we see Nietzsche's most prolific question so prominently featured within Nier's themes. For what are we humans, the androids' very creators, if not their gods?
Glory to mankind!
Glory to mankind!
Purposelessness and the loss of meaning are all two human struggles we have been contending with since the Enlightenment, one that Nietzsche foresaw as the potential downside for the Enlightenment's otherwise positive development in human history. Freedom from the shackles of religion and a God who may or may not be benevolent in his omniscience also came with the loss of the central source of meaning and purpose that had grounded the Western world for much of human history. And while there's much to debate about how much good versus ill religion has done for humanity, 2023 and recent years have shown how potently debilitating nihilism and a loss of hope has become for so many people. Contending with nihilism and a loss of direction, of purpose, of meaning in life is central to the overarching conflict in Nier Automata, and why the androids grappling with these experiences are so evocative of humanity. We humans are both the androids and Nietzsche's God, the creator abandoning our creation in the same way we have ourselves been abandoned. And like us, the androids are having a deeply troubled time sorting that abandonment out. As we were God's forsaken children left to sort the evils of our world and ourselves, so too are the androids. That existential distress, the inability to navigate a world suddenly void of that parental deity that should by all rights be the guiding force of our lives, is all too relatable. 2B and 9S, A2, and every machine life form are simply a reflection of us. A melancholic mirror of our own selves and our experiences upon facing the existential truth that God is dead and we have killed him. Compared to our androids in Nier, the androids in Signalis are much less concerned with whether their existence has meaning. Most of them are too busy dealing with the direct and often cosmic horror tied to the frightening events unfolding in the game. Signalis executes a masterful callback to survival horror games of old, right down to the oppressively limited inventory management system, key-based puzzles, and slowly unlocking labyrinthian floor layouts. Signalis is a masterclass in atmosphere and world building, in non-linear storytelling, and conveying themes and moods through evocative, moody, sometimes horrific imagery. There are many important interlocking parts of Signalis, more sources of inspiration and homages than most games ever hope to piece together, and all of them are carefully considered to serve a whole that is much greater than its individual parts. Though it leans firmly into various artistic expression, a wealth of lore, and an emotionally resonant core, Signalis is very much a game about horror. Horrible places, horrible people, horrible monsters, and horrible memories. Signalis takes the player on a trip through hell, one awash in blood, death, body horror, environmental terror, and the slow, insidious crawl of insanity. The deeper Elster goes, the more reality itself fractures around her, and we begin to question how much of what we face is real and how much is Elster's own deteriorating mental state. The lore behind how the horror in Signalis unfolds is fascinating and requires a good deal of player-led investigation and sleuthing. Signalis is rife with imagery and subtext, and often spread across multiple languages and references that necessitate both a sharp eye and a willingness to dig in and research its many references to piece together the full puzzle of what exactly the game is trying to say. Even then, there is much in Signalis that is not definitive, left open to personal interpretation and theory crafting. While it's well worth taking a deep dive to piece together the intriguing bits of lore, none of this is integral to why Signalis connects us so emotionally to androids. Rather, most of our connection to androids in Signalis' world lies in our connection to our protagonist character, Elster, how she serves to reflect some of the great attributes and ideals that we find in humanity, and how the struggles, hardships, and impossibly painful decisions Elster makes remind us of how beautiful, fragile, and tragic human existence can be. Elster overall is not the display of human emotion that we see in her near-android counterparts. Androids in Signalis' universe have different personalities, traits, and habits depending on what model or type they fit into, which stems from the fact that all androids are derived from an original gestalt, or human, whose neural patterns make up the programming and personality of the androids modeled after these individuals. Each line of android serves particular roles and purpose in society, everything from custodians to servants to researchers and even soldiers. Elster, whose gestalt was a war veteran, is proficient in combat, tactics, and survival, and has a quiet, reserved, and stoic personality. How then do we, the player, find ourselves so embodied in Elster, so connected to her, seeing our humanity and the richness of human experience in her somber and stoic demeanor? Simply, we see in Elster some of humanity's greatest virtues and attributes. We see and experience these less through Elster's emotions, but rather through her actions. In a beautiful way, Elster is the mere opposite of our androids in Nier. Where Nier's androids suffer with an existential lack of purpose and meaning, Elster's entire journey is guided by an unshakable purpose and acutely focused meaning to her quest. Through her many ordeals, Elster is carried through by the single-minded, resolute purpose of one goal: to keep her promise. Beneath the many layers of strange events, the cosmic horror unfolding all around us, and the macabre warping of reality, Signalis is simply the final chapters of a tragically fated love story between an android and a gestalt, Elster and her human counterpart, Ariane. Ariane, through no fault of her own, lies at the heart of the deterioration of reality, the breakdown of time and space, and the eroding of sanity of everyone caught within the influence of her bioresonance. Bioresonance is a strange power found in certain gestalts, and they are able to alter reality, influence people's minds, and potentially create and destroy life. It's also entirely out of Ariane's control, and it's slowly, painfully, killing her. Elster possesses a single-minded purpose to fulfill her promise made to Ariane, born of her love for her. Signalis does a clever job of keeping the player relatively in the dark in this, preserving the mystery and tension, piling question after question before us and taking its time to explain the threads in this game's universe, piecing together the lore and fascinating details, all of which continue to turn our attention back to the centrally important message of the game. Through every manner of hell and suffering she experiences, this is all that matters to Elster. Find her love and keep her promise. Even the grievous, heartbreaking pain of fulfilling that promise is secondary. A tragic, melancholic footnote of Elster doing what she must to honor Ariane's wishes and fulfill her oath before at long last finding rest beside the one person she treasures more than anything. In this, Elster reflects the best of humanity, a single-minded pursuit of one's purpose, the significance of honoring a promise to ones we hold dear, bravery in the face of insurmountable odds, the enduring power of love. For all that Elster is a near-silent protagonist, she exemplifies the virtues and resiliency that we have upheld as the best humanity has to offer. It is through these virtues and examples of commitment, purposefulness, and enduring love that we see an android reflecting the qualities humans have strived to live up to throughout the ages. From the glory of Elster's heroic bravery to the devastating tragedy at the end of her journey, Signalis' androids and Elster's story personifies so much of the human experience, the virtues we strive for, and the pain they and we inevitably endure. Why do sad androids strike such a chord in us? Why do we feel such an emotional swell exploring their stories, their struggles, their downfalls, their tragedies, and their hard-won triumphs? Because they're us. By placing our likeness upon androids, we project our history, our existential dread, our search for meaning upon them as inevitably as we impart our own dreams and ambitions, our failures and shortcomings upon our own children. In androids, we see a reflection of our own fragilities and strengths, our stubborn continued existence in a world without God and without guidance. And we see the potential for the greatest strengths of humanity made manifest through bravery, resolution, purposeful determination, and the anchoring force of love. Androids are mirrors, letting us gaze into the best and the worst of ourselves, all of our potential, and all of our downfalls. Take a look into the mirror sometime. Play some games about sad robots and contemplate what it is that you see.